I tried to forcefully change my hermit crab's shell when I was 5. I had a hermit crab who had a shell that was painted pink with a Powerpuff Girl on it. I had her for a while, and in my 5-year-old mind, I thought she may be tired of her outfit and decided I should change her into something else. I found a cute shell from a collection of seashells I had and decided that was the one for her night out on the town. Now getting her out of her outfit was the issue. I didn't know what to do and didn't want to yank her out, but somehow thought breaking her out would be better. So I got my hands on a hammer, don't know how. Took her out to the front porch and smashed her shell open with it, trying to get her out to change her into a new outfit. My dad came out because he heard me screaming after I broke the shell open, and he screamed too, not knowing what to do and what his daughter just did. Long story short, I brutally crushed my hermit crab at the age of 5. This still haunts me to this day, and I feel so much guilt 19 years later.
My grandma's neighbor kept harassing her, so my mother took matters into her own hands. This story is not about me but my mom. I do know my mother is an asshole for this, but I also believe it was deserved, and it definitely counts as petty revenge. It starts when my grandma had to move to a new apartment because the old house got lost by rather tragic circumstances. The apartment was in a fairly big house in the city center, around 6 floors, with multiple apartments on each floor. This is where our main character, my grandma's neighbor, is introduced. This neighbor was making life their hell. She constantly harassed and terrorized the residents of this building. You could always hear her screaming in the hallway at other people and regularly called the police on others for practically nothing. Everyone that we ever chatted with in the building absolutely hated her, but were intimidated by her constant threats and obviously just wanted to live in peace. She had it out particularly for my grandma, framing her for losing or damaging community property and other things she could come up with that never happened. I don't remember everything, as I was pretty young at that time. But I often remember my grandma frustrated, angry and crying over this woman when my family was visiting. The last thing I remember this neighbor doing is calling the police for yet another petty reason on my grandma, soon after she suffered her second stroke. I remember coming to visit her after an 8-day travel, we live in a different country, and seeing her argue with a policeman out of all things. My grandma died soon after because of her third stroke. Now starts the tragedy's second part. My mother was obviously devastated by the loss. Nevertheless, life must go on and she had to do something about the apartment. My mother owns it and she didn't want it to stay empty, so she decided to rent it. Before, it needed some renovations. My parents stayed there for a couple of weeks making arrangements for the renovation, and this is when they became this neighbor's new target. Police and local service visited practically every day. This woman was really creative with her accusations of what my mom could be doing wrong or illegally. Note that my mother hired a specialized company for interior design to do the renovations with her, so everything was done by professionals with little room for error. Didn't stop that neighbor. She also got my mother into multiple bureaucratic fights. The worst one is when she got my mom into big troubles with the local energy supplier, because she accused my mother to illegally use gas. This was actually a problem, because my mom actually unsubscribed from the gas, cause she renovated the apartment to run solely on electricity. There were more of such incidents. This woman really reached out to every authority institution she could think of to somehow frame my mother. Eventually, my mom had enough. She was tired of this constant harassment and she was obviously still resenting this neighbor for making my grandma's life so hard. She was still grieving. It was time for some petty revenge. My mother is not proud of what she did, but it did get the harassment to stop, and in this moment she was filled with rage. First thing she did is make her an account on some grandma sex website. You would be surprised how many young men have such fantasies. My mom flirted heavily with them online and invited them to my neighbor's address. Suddenly her screaming in the hallway was just music to my mom's ears when she was kicking out the confused lads who showed up in front of her doorstep with flowers. She also subscribed her to all kind of porn and sex toy magazines. She ordered the weirdest sex toys for her. The neighbor was livid. Of course she called the police and everything. But with her horrible behavior she had made so many enemies she couldn't find the culprit. Police also stopped taking her seriously because of her regular calls. It stopped the harassment. She was so occupied with her own problems she finally stopped creating them for others. I'm curious what you guys think about this story. My mom is definitely not proud of this and she didn't continue it for long. She feels bad, because she believes this neighbor must have had some mental illness to behave in such a way. She was just so angry. Personally, I don't really know what to feel about this. I am quite satisfied she got revenge for my grandma. I did a hit and run, and there's a moderate chance I know the person. I was backing up my car, running on quite literally 0 hours of sleep and had just done a long shift at work. I backed up slowly, felt the bump, panicked and was gonna pull back to leave a note or something. But the person in my car I was giving a ride home was like, "There's no damage, you're fine," and encouraged me to just go. I did. I didn't want to lurk around, so I didn't get up close to inspect for damage, but it didn't look like there was damage at a glance. The person in my car made me reaffirm in my head it was fine and not a big deal, and no one seemed to have saw, so I trusted that it was okay and left. This was in my work parking lot. What if it was my coworker? We share a parking lot with the facility my therapist works at. What if it was his car? I can't even talk about this in therapy now that I have finally slept. I feel so worried and like a shit person to not have at least checked and left a note. I don't know the plates, and only half remember the model, or I'd try to find the car. I feel pretty confident there wasn't damage. My car had literally nothing and I just bumped the corner and what I did see looked fine. But the lot has security cameras, and at the end of the day I did do a hit and run. What if they come find me? What if I get fired or everyone at work finds out and hates me? ADK, what to do? I feel like a garbage person and I'm scared and worried. And then I feel awful to feel bad about feeling awful and scared cause I deserve it. It's my own doing. What's the craziest story you've heard of a couple breaking up? Newly married woman, a teacher at a local school, cheated on her husband, also a teacher at the same school, with the principal. They got caught in the act on school property. Both their careers ruined and probably ruined the husband's life. Something similar happened at my son's school. My son got a new boy in his class when he was about 6. We live in France, so the school system is different. They quickly became very good friends. As it turned out, they only lived down the road from us. A nice family. Mom was a teacher at the same school and they also had a daughter that was 2 years older than the boys. We also met several times for drinks with this family, did some activities together like hikes and beach picnics. Could say we were quite good friends. A couple of years on, the old school principal retires and the new principal starts shamelessly pursuing our friend. Phone calls, flowers, gifts. She is blown away by his attention and starts an affair with him. For example, the kids went on a 3-day school trip in the mountains. She was one of the accompanying teacher, and the principal goes with them. He never went to school trips otherwise. The affair was the talk of the whole school. The son told my son, "Mr. B, principal, will be my stepdad soon." There was a messy divorce as far as I know. We are not too much in contact with this family anymore. Our sons are still friends. They are both 14 and still in the same class. The principal and the teacher are still at school. They got married straight after the divorce was finalized. The kids are still in that school. I really feel sorry for the guy. He was really nice, really loved his wife, was a great dad. He really didn't deserve this.
Aita for not giving my BF a free pass after I slept with his friend. My BF, Ryan 25 male and I, 24 female, have been dating for a bit under 2 years. Recently, we've been getting more experimental in the bedroom. I pitched the idea of a threesome with another woman. I'm bi, and he suggested his friend Jessie, 25 female, who is also bi. I had met Jessie quite a few times, as she is very good friends with Ryan, and they've known each other for a long time. He was upfront with me when we met, that they dated for a few weeks like 7 years ago before amicably splitting due to lifestyle differences. Jessie is a party girl, anti-religious, child-free. Ryan said there were too many differences between them, and they haven't messed around since, but stayed friends. Jessie and I have hung out a few times, just the two of us, and I consider her my friend now too. One day when she was over, Ryan pitched the idea to Jessie. Jessie seemed a bit shocked, but agreed. We got down to business, and it was nice. I thought we all had fun. We've done it a few times, and I thought everyone is on the same page and it's not weird. Well, now it is. The other day, Jessie stayed over and slept in our bed with us. Ryan went to work early, and it was just Jessie and I. I woke up to her trying to initiate sex with me politely. While I was interested, I declined, saying Ryan wasn't here, and he wouldn't be okay with just us messing around. She then showed me she had texted Ryan earlier, specifically asking permission to sleep with me without him. He responded, "That's fine as long as I get a free pass too." I thought for a second and came to the conclusion that the idea of him and Jessie together didn't upset me, as I trusted both of them. So I was okay with him sleeping with her as long as he told me about it. We really should have talked about the details more, because this is where it all went wrong. Jessie and I did sleep together without Ryan. It was fine and all. But when he got home later, Jesse asked him when he wanted his free pass. He said, "Not sure yet. Gotta try to talk to this girl at work I want to use it on." Both Jesse and I were confused as we thought he meant a free pass with Jesse, but apparently he meant a free pass with anyone, which I was not okay with. I knew and trusted Jesse, which is why I agreed to it. I told him this, and he said it wasn't fair that I can sleep with whoever, but he can't. I told him it's not whoever, it's this one person we both trust. Jesse then left us to resolve the argument. Ryan said the threesomes with Jesse is mostly for me, as he isn't all that attracted to her, so he wants someone different. I kind of feel like I got trapped, so I told him no. Now he's not speaking to me and I can't tell if I'm the a-hole. I mean, I did sleep with his friend.
My wife got plastic surgery against my advice, and now I am unattracted to her. Am I the a-hole for admitting it? My wife had plastic surgery recently. We had discussed it and I was against it. It was not my decision and ultimately I had no say. She looks weird now. She had the fat sucked out of her face, lip fillers, a neck lift, other stuff I don't really get. She gives me uncanny valley vibes now. It freaks me out. She is fully healed now and she wants us to go back to normal. Like me initiating sex, I have done so but not as much as I used to. And when I do, I try and make sure there is very little light. It's been a few months and I kind of dread having to look at her. Obviously she has noticed. She has been bugging me to tell her what's up. I've tried telling her I'm just tired from work, or that I'm run down. Really anything except for the truth. She broke down and asked me if I was having an affair. I said that I wasn't. She asked to look at my phone. I unlocked it for her and handed it over. I wasn't worried about her finding anything because there is nothing to find. She spent an hour looking through it and found nothing. She asked me to explain why I changed. I tried explaining that I just wasn't that interested right now. Nothing I said was good enough for her. She kept digging. I finally told the truth. I wasn't harsh or brutally honest. I just told her that her new face wasn't something I found attractive and that I was turned off. She asked if that's why I turn off all the lights now. I said yes. She started crying and said that she needed time alone. She went to stay with her sister. I have been called every name in the book since this happened. Her sister said I'm a piece of shit for insulting my wife's looks. Her friends all think I'm the asshole. I tried not to say anything. I can't force myself to find her attractive. I still love her, but her face is just weird now. She looks like the blue alien from The Fifth Element. Aita for telling her that I'm never going to want anything serious because she's a single mom? I've been seeing this woman for around 6 months now. We met at a business event in the city after a mutual friend of ours introduced us. We kicked it off very well and soon after, started hooking up. She's a very intelligent and quick-witted gal and she's a catch in every sense of the word, but she has a child, 5 years old, from a previous relationship. After our first night at my place, she asked me what the deal was with us. I said that I'm not looking for anything serious and she said the same, so we agreed to just keep our relationship to casual sex. I have nothing against single mums, more power to them, but I would never have a relationship with one. Too much baggage emo, but that's just me. Last night we were having a chat over a glass of wine at my apartment and she asked me if I wanted to take our relationship to the next level. I said no, I never really gave it any thought. I'm happy with what we're doing now. She said that she really liked me and wanted something more out of it than just casual sex. I told her that I wasn't interested in anything more. If you want something more, you'd have to pursue that with someone else, she said, but why? We get along really well, we have the same interests, similar outlooks for the future, marriage, kids, etc. I said yeah, but I just don't think we're compatible. She kept pressing me over an explanation and I told her that I didn't have one. Sometimes a no is just a no and that's that. She continued to bug me about it and then finally I just told her that I would never consider anything serious with her because she has a child, with another man. I don't want to be a father and raise a kid that's not mine. I don't want your ex stuck in our lives forever. If I ever have kids, which I want to, it'll be with a woman who only has my children. She got very upset about all this and perhaps I was a bit harsh in my delivery, but that's only because I was agitated from her pressing me. She started crying and said that she felt used and betrayed, but I never promised her anything. We literally agreed to keep our relationship to just sex. I don't see how I did anything wrong here. I don't think I led her on at all, but she insisted that I did her wrong. Guy spreads rumors about me and insults me unprovoked, calls me a virgin so I slept with his ex-GF. This guy who I hardly know started spreading rumors about me being sexist towards women last year. However, I've barely talked to the guy and I've also never been sexist to any of the women that have been a part of my life. I asked them. One day at a party he starts insulting me and calling me a virgin despite me not being one mile. This was around the time his girlfriend broke up with him, so I assume he was just insecure and took it out on me. I met his ex-girlfriend at another party, and we hit it off, and a week later we started hooking up. She's told quite a few people about us, and it's definitely made its way to him.
My boyfriend has started becoming more and more insecure about my height, and it's starting to drive me crazy. Throwaway, and for context, I'm 22F, and he's 23M. We're both about 5'8". I'm slightly shorter, so maybe he's 5'8.5". I'm tall for a girl. I was a shooting guard on the basketball team during my first 3 years of college. He knew this going into the relationship. We've been together for 7 months. The first 6 months were smooth sailing. However, last month we went to a more posh, bougie party and I wore heels. Of course, I end out being taller than him by a decent bit. So instead of telling me how pretty he thought I looked, the first thing he pointed out was, "Wow, you look way too tall in those." Even asked if I had a shorter pair of heels and then finally gave it up. I found that really weird and out of character about him. But that was only the start. Ever since that day, he busts me at least 4 times a week to assure that I feel protected around him. Literally yesterday, he asked if I'd love him more if he was 6'0 plus. Whenever we take side-by-side pics, he gets on his tippy toes to make it seem like he's much taller than me. He also randomly lifts me up, which he can with ease, since he's strong and it catches me off guard every time. He tries straightening his back to the point where he looks weird. He's bought into some weird narrative that I see him as less of a man because he's not 4 inches taller. I've told him multiple times that I don't care about his height, otherwise I wouldn't have gotten with him. No matter how many eyelids I'll throw at him, and I mean all of them, he just can't stop talking about this issue.
Person next to me on a plane kept violating my personal space. So I blinded her. I was flying in the window seat, because I like looking out the window. The woman sitting next to me reached in front of me multiple times to close the window shade. She never asked me, she just reached directly in front of me to close the shade. I would immediately reopen it, and a few minutes later she would reach in front of me again to close it. It was a noon domestic short-haul flight, so no reason to need darkness in the middle of the day. And absolutely no excuse for violating my personal space multiple times without asking me or acknowledging me or treating me like a human in any way. So I pulled out my book and turned on the reading light, despite there being ample natural light from the open window for me to read. I then positioned my hands in such a way that my watch would reflect the reading light, directly into her eyes. I read like that for an hour, jiggling my hand the entire time, so it would shine the light back and forth across her eyes and be super distracting and annoying. Once we landed and she took her headphones off, I turned to her and said, "Next time you fly, book a window seat if you want to control the window. Or at least treat me like a human and ask me before you violate my personal space. What you did is unbelievably rude." She looked so offended. And naturally she walked to and fro meg. Being a city walker, I easily got in front of her. Then once we were on the moving walkway I stopped immediately in front of her. Did the same on the escalator to the curb, before flipping her off the entire way to my ride. I was bullied as a kid and now it feels kinda good to see the people who made my high school years hell have a bad life. I was made fun of because my teeth not being straight, because of my big nose, because someone saw my drunk dad around on weekends. Because teachers liked me, because I lived really far from school, because I didn't have money to buy much during lunch. Because if my shoes or backpack weren't demaggot I would use them the next school year as well because we were broke. You name it, I was made fun of for it. Even some people I thought I was being friends with would eventually join whoever was the coolest kid around and making me feel like crap. And I know we were kids. This doesn't mean these people are bad people today. I don't know them, but I was a kid too and I wasn't a bully. I was always the youngest of my class because my country allows people to skip grades, so I graduated HS at 14. I am 26 now. I live in a small city and work for a manufacturing company who is the biggest employer of the region, so naturally people I know end up working there since there's a lot of people. I was recently promoted and now make like 7 times the average salary of my country, own a decent car that's paid in full. About to graduate from my master's, am saving to buy a house, have good friends, go on weekend getaways a couple times a year and am a happy person. The other day at work a new operator, she was in training, so a new employee, stopped me to say hi and was one of the people who hurt me. The one thing I remember she used to say was, "Poor Esther, let's all raise funds so we can get his teeth fixed." I remember her saying poor Esther in a condescending way and laughing. She also a couple times stole my backpack and hid it, in a bathroom trash can. There's something so insulting about people saying poor you, because of something you don't even consider a relevant problem at the moment. And it's a problem only because they made it like that about my teeth. She's pregnant, her third pregnancy. Started college for a humanities degree that she didn't complete. Is single mom of 2 other kids, and has jumped from manufacturing company to manufacturing company after she left college. This is the minimum wage in my country, that's like $400 monthly. I have met other people from HS over the years, and in the same case, one of them even went to jail for hitting his wife and kid. I am having a great life and it's not based on other people having a bad one. And this perhaps makes me a bad person, and I know I can fall too or make bad decisions, and IDK maybe in her mind this guy is super happy with his life and bunch of kids and salary, IDK. But I know if my decisions ever make me pull the short stick, I won't have people pleased with my bad luck as I am with theirs, because I am not a bully and I don't damage people intentionally for fun as these bullies did. Guess the conclusion here is, bad years don't last forever. HS is just a phase, and being the queen bee in HS doesn't mean a successful life. Driving to HS in a cute car or having much money for lunch or being successful in HS doesn't mean that's for life. Just as being the rug everyone steps on doesn't mean you're going to be it forever.